everyone. Welcome back to Let's Go There, another amazing Tuesday. If you have not subscribed, take a moment to subscribe to my channel. Also, hit that like button. Man, tonight we're going to have an amazing conversation with a new friend of mine that our husbands have been friends for over 30 years. And so we're just excited to talk about all things about being a survivor. And I can't wait to you to meet her. And so her name is Jessica Ellis Bulgin, and she's residing in California. But she has a wealth of knowledge, story, experience, and she's just changing the landscape for women in her community and influence. And so I just want to invite her online now. Come on, hey Jessica.
Hey Chantal, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome to my show. It's so good. I know we've known each other for years, but we've never met each other in person.
I know that's crazy.
Right. Have to make it happen, especially since our husbands are such good friends over the
Yes,
years. And so, I guess you are an honorary Canadian.
yes, I am.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So take a moment, introduce yourself. Let us get to know you a little bit.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about being a part of your platform and on your show. So my name is Jessica Ellis Bulgin. I am a mother of four, 19, 18, 5, and 2, and a wife to Jason Bulgin. I love him so much. I'm a mental health therapist, a a boutique owner, entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I never know what to say when people say introduce yourself because automatically you start listing your accomplishments.
Yeah.
But who I really am, my favorite color is purple. I love red hair. I love watching movies. That's who I am.
How's your boutique doing?
It's doing okay. Things have slowed down. Of course, there's ups and downs in retail. So it's so unpredictable when people want to shop. But
Wow.
it was definitely a dream come true to have my first brick and mortar store. So
That's amazing, amazing, amazing. Last week on our show, we had Joanne Wilson from Cool, and it's just amazing to see the space out there, people just living out their dreams in the creative world. And so kudos to you for getting a store. That's so, so big. And so
thank you.
listen, my first question for you today is, would you call yourself a survivor?
I definitely would, because in my book, a survivor is someone who makes it out of a situation that should have killed them. And so if that's how I define being a survivor, I am most certainly a survivor multiple times over.
So sure. Let's dig into what's your story? Because I know you have a lot in your story, but give us a little bit of your story, your journey.
It is a lot, but I'll give you the bullet points.
Yes.
So I grew up as a PK, pastor's kid, for those who don't know, preacher's kid. And so always being in the spotlight, I absolutely hated it as a child. And it broke my dad's heart, but I was just that's just where I was. I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable. And then I struggled a lot back and forth with my faith and also my self-esteem. So I was struggling internally, externally. And I turned to the world for a lot of my answers. And so I started hanging out with the wrong people. I was a teen mom. I got involved heavily with alcohol and drugs at a certain point in my life. I kept all of that away from my child. I would say I was semi-functional, but also diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And so that on top of drug use, I pretty much almost lost my mind. And then also being, a sexual assault victim at one point. And then having to go to court and be on trial. And so there it goes, another spotlight. Here I go trying to run from the spotlight in church, and I'm still in the spotlight in the world.
Wow.
And so that was a very difficult season to even get through, all of that. So I have definitely been through a lot, and I survived. Everybody does not survive addiction. Everybody does not survive sexual assault. I could have been murdered. It was definitely a
Would you say you were addicted in addiction in that season?
It was, yes, all of it was kind of tied in together. Some of it is a little hazy when I think back, but because sometimes I mix up different seasons of my life because it was just so much up and down. It was a roller coaster. But I would say that I was not living the life that I should have been living when that incident happened.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, what's crazy is I actually ended up, because that was when I first went to college, and I ended up getting pregnant around that same time, which that didn't really help my court case.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
it kind of all just happened back to back. And the addiction, I was just searching. I was just trying to find something to
Mm.
fill a void. And after a while, alcohol just wasn't enough. I didn't know when to stop. I just didn't know when to stop. I just kept going and going. I've passed out, I've blacked out, I've had alcohol poisoning, I've been had to be carried out of clubs
Wow.
for fighting or for being too drunk or
Wow.
it's a person you never want to meet.
Mm-hmm. Would you say you lost a lot of weight in those seasons? Like, how was your health overall?
I didn't take many pictures back then for
Mm-hmm.
that reason. But there are a couple that I save, and when I post them and I tell people this wasn't just because I wasn't eating.
Yeah.
I mean, I was super skinny, probably like 90 pounds. I remember being in a size 00.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Did your parents know what was going on at this time when you were going through all this?
I don't think they knew how serious it was. And
Mm.
they suspected something because when you're a close family, because we were a very close family, when you're close, you know your children,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
know when they're going through something, but they didn't know the extent of it until later in my adulthood when I would go back and tell stories. And I didn't dump it all on them at one time. I would tell them bits and pieces because I knew they couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, y'all remember that one time I came up to the room and I had that black wig on? And then I'll tell them. I
Mm.
remember my father knowing I was going through a tough time, but he never judged or anything. He would just pray for me and he would remind me that Jesus still loved me. And he's like, I hope you come back to the cross one day. You know, he would just say things like that. I'm like, oh my God, how does he know? Well,
Mm.
first of all, I look and smell all kind of worldly. I
Oh.
look horrible, sis.
Wow, wow, wow. And so what would you say was like your lowest point through this journey? I have another question. Were you ever in an abusive relationship
Yes.
in this?
So that that also was kind of a part of the journey. In
Mm,
and out of domestic violence situations. I was in several abusive relationships that were some were physical, some were emotional, some were mental, and sometimes I even say those mental and emotional it could be a little worse
mm,
than the physical relationships.
mhm.
You heal quicker from a physical wound than the mental and emotional.
Talk a little bit more about that. Like talk a little more about that.
It takes time. So I became a mental health therapist. And
Yeah.
one of the reasons I did is because I wanted to help people like me. I
Mm,
wanted to I wanted to embrace and love on people who can't really find their way. Because I remember when I couldn't find my way.
mm.
And why am I getting emotional?
No, really?
um, but the physical abuse, that's the hitting, obviously.
Mhm,
But when you start saying things like you're stupid,
mm,
nobody will ever want you.
mm,
And then when you deal with your own insecurities, you already kind of were, dealing with low self-esteem. First
mm.
of all, let me pause and say anybody with insecurities is a magnet for abuse,
Wow.
any kind of way,
Mm,
any kind of abuse. But you're a magnet for it, not just in a relationship with a guy, but even family relationships, platonic relationships, you're just bound to be abused. So anyway, I had my own insecurities and I felt like I was drawing those type of men to me because I was always a damsel in distress. I was
mm,
always needy and clingy and the jealous type. And they played on that. They played on that. So I was called names. I even had one guy, he would do it through jokes and laughter. See
mm.
that twist that messes up your head.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and then I was with one guy that was actually a preacher. And so he would do it through spiritual means. That's still abuse.
Yeah, still abuse.
You know, throwing scriptures and Bible at me, but you're manipulative, and you're forcing me to do things that I don't want to do, but you told me that if I loved you, I should. That's still abuse.
That's still abuse. Wow. I can't imagine, like, it just seems like how did you get out? Like, what was your turning point to get out?
I had to, and this is what I tell my clients, nobody can force you out. You know, you have a village that can help, that can keep you encouraged and keep loving on you. But sometimes love is not enough. And that's the mistake that a lot of families make. They think, well, why isn't my love enough for you to stop? Because love is not enough. And there's actually a movie I want everybody to go watch. And it's actually called When Love Is Not Enough. I think that's the name of it. But it took me, God's love is enough.
Yeah.
It took me realizing that he still loved me. And I just broke down and cried one day. And I'm like, after all that I've done to you, I'm sorry, Chantal.
No, this is good. So real. So real.
Realizing that there was nothing bad enough that could make him walk away. To realize that as far as I had gone, he was still right there. Like, that was a whoa moment for me. I think I broke down one day and I was crying. Actually might have been high when I was doing that, but but I had hit my bottom. Everybody has a rock bottom, and everybody's bottom is different. Sometimes it takes some of us a little bit longer to hit our rock bottom.
Yeah.
But I got tired of getting in trouble. I got tired of hitting that brick wall. I got tired of, I've been arrested. I didn't want to deal with no more cops. Like,
yeah.
I had gotten into prostitution for a short time. Like, I was just tired. That is exhausting, living a double life.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
That is exhausting. So it just got exhausting. And that, I would say, that's how I got out.
You know, what's so powerful is a church girl recognizing, getting the revelation that you are enough for a God.
Man, that was truly a revelation. And it's funny. I remember being in clubs sometimes, and a guy would be like, "What are you doing here? Why are you here?" And I'm like, "What you mean why I'm here? I'm here having a good time like you." And he was like, "It's something about you. You're not supposed to be here." I'll never forget that moment sitting at the bar. He said, "You're different. You're not supposed to be here. Go home." And he told me to go home.
Wow.
So the anointing, to know that the anointing never left me, to know that I was like David. I feel like I was like David. I was still the apple of God's eye. No matter how much wrong I did, he still favored me. I'm still one of his favorites. That's pretty dope.
That is dope. Like, I think, what's funny? I think it's just powerful, because I think we need to be reminded, no matter your story, no matter what we've been through, I think even in our adult lives, we need to be reminded that God loves us, no matter if we're not where we think we're supposed to be, our purpose or our calling. Because, there's so many people that are older or even our age, still don't know what God is calling them to do and just trying to figure it out. And so when you realize that there's a God, no matter your lowest moments in life, that he still loves you, it's it can propel you to do so many things.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I wasn't scared back to the cross. I was loved back to the cross.
That's good.
So many people, they run back because they're scared. Oh my God, he might come. The second coming might happen in 30 minutes. Let me hurry up and get my life together. That was not me. I mean, when I tell you I was bold about my worldly life, I was bold, Chantal. I really feel like that's why God respected me, to be honest, because at a point I stopped straddling the fence. He don't like lukewarm. You got to, and I picked my side. I was like, you know what? I'm good with you for a second. This is the life I want to live. But I kept it real at all times. And then when I made the decision to come back to the cross, I was loved back to the cross, not just by my family or my parents, but just by Jesus, man. Like, that's why I believe he became human himself, not just to save us. Like, you got to think beyond beyond that. He came so he could experience this stuff.
Wow.
So we could have a God that we can actually relate to. Like, he can relate to me.
Yes.
He cried too.
Yes.
If you think about it, had he remained God, he would have no idea what we were even going through.
And that's why I love that you're being so transparent and real, because I think it's so hard when you look at people, like you think people have a fake life or a fake real life, and you watch
Right.
people on, you watch people on Instagram, on Facebook, and you're like, oh, they're just doing amazing things. Life is so good. They have it so easy. But the reality is we all have had a piece of brokenness in our life, a piece of drama.
Is the place to post what you want people to see.
Exactly. It's all curated. It's all controlled content. And I think sometimes we forget about that. All of us have it. Like, I post my kids are screaming in the background, or it's not real.
Right.
It's fun. It's fun, but it's not real. And I think
Yeah.
that we need to have more people, especially in the church, to be very honest. And so I guess the question to ask you is, are you very open and honest with your children, with your story?
I am. I have to be. I think that it is important for all parents to be open and transparent with your children, but use wisdom at each stage of their life. It's okay for them to know a little bit more about you. What that does is frees your children. Telling your story is not to be kept. I know back in the day it was, you don't tell nothing, old school, you do not tell none of your business. But I think that if the approach was a little bit different, some of us that are now in our adulthood would have turned out a little bit differently. And we understand mama and daddy went through the same things. So I am very transparent with my kid. I actually just had a deep conversation with my new high school graduate the other day. And every so often, we'll have an intimate conversation. So she's 18 now. So there's a door she has access to me now that she didn't have at 14. Because you got to know what your kids can handle. So I wait till she's approaching a certain train that's getting ready to hit her. And I'm like, that train hit me already. You might want to move out the way.
Come on.
So absolutely, to your question, you got to be honest with your bad English, but you got to be honest with your kids.
Oh, that's so good. I think, a lot of parents are dealing with, they see their kids going through the same issues as them, but they're not willing, or they haven't dealt with their own trauma to deal with their kids' trauma. And so I think it's so good that you have an open relationship with your children. That's kind of how we parent to our kids, like from a young age. We make it obviously age appropriate, but it just helps the journey that kids need to know that they're not also alone and they're not crazy.
Absolutely.
They're not crazy.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, open that door of communication so they feel comfortable coming to tell you their stuff. So a part of that is how you respond. If I'm always responding in a yelling and angry manner, then that shuts down their ability to come tell me things. Now, it's not saying I never do that, but it's just honestly asking God for wisdom and how to navigate. We got all different ages, all different stages of life. And so we definitely, my husband and I have created an open door for communication. But that goes both ways.
Yeah.
It's not just them being able to talk to us, but us being able to tell them stories. Like, this one time I did this, or this happened to me before. And then, they'll be like, oh my God, she just told me one of her secrets. Now they feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that's necessary for sure.
So if you could tell a young girl, like, how not to get into an abusive relationship or that lifestyle, what would be some things you think that could have helped you at a young age not to walk through those doors?
I think that it is important in any situation to never address the surface issue. When you look at an iceberg, you only see about 10% of that iceberg.
Yes.
The other 90 is underneath, not visible, under the ocean. And that's the image we use when we talk about mental health issues and problems. You only see about 10% of a person's stuff.
Yeah.
The problem is we only address the 10%. We address the surface stuff. We address the actions and not the root of the issue. So I said all of that to say, My approach is not to tell my 15-year-old self, don't get in an abusive relationship. Because
Hmm.
what is that? I don't even know what that is. But if I tell my 15-year-old self, adore yourself.
Hmm.
And adoring yourself also means embracing your flaws.
Hmm.
It's okay to have things wrong with you and still adore yourself.
That's good. That's real
So
good.
I would start from the inside out. It
Mm.
wasn't a matter of my physical being. You know, people always tell me I was pretty. I thought I was ugly. But again, it was internal.
Mm.
I couldn't fix the ugly with makeup because I would put on makeup and still think I was ugly.
Mm.
Clearly, there was something going on inside. And so I would start from the inside out. Adore yourself, love yourself, understand that you're going to make mistakes and it's cool. Like, so you got a scar here. Embrace that, girl.
That's
And
good.
now I'm at a point where I look at scars, even physical scars, and my husband will tell you, I love the scars on his face. I'm so weird. Like, those are battle wounds. I love
Yeah.
It's sexy. That tells a story. That means you've been through something.
Mm.
When you don't embrace those things, though, you find ways to mask it, filter
And
it.
so many people are trying to cover up with the cover up makeup, and there's a
Mhm.
story behind that that could really help other people to identify you've been through something. And I know that
Yeah,
you're a signpost to know that you're a survivor of something. So that's
absolutely.
great.
I actually have I have a scar. So I have a dark mark under my eye. I have a makeup now, but I used to be so self-conscious about it that I would just pack on makeup every day. I mean, when I tell you I wore makeup every day for years, and then I got to that breaking point where I got free within myself, and I was like, okay, the scar tells a story. If anybody asks me about it, I'll tell them what happened. I fell out of a
Mm.
car, a moving vehicle, face first.
Wow.
But I had to embrace that story. That's my
Mhm.
story. It's my
Mhm.
scar, and scars tell a story. So when you get okay with your story, you won't mind reading it out loud to people.
That's so good. Come on, drop those. Those are so good. Yes, yes. It's so powerful. I think that's right there the issue. A lot of people are not comfortable with their own story. They're
They're
just
not.
not comfortable. They're not comfortable. They want to just not deal with it. I think sometimes we don't remember that every single person on the planet is a real person. They
Right.
have their own issues, and I'm trying to do that more with my kids. And like it's kind of scary, sharing your story or even with my church, sharing that the real like we're not perfect people even as leaders. Like we have
Mhm.
sin, we have problems, but we have a God that loves us so much that's willing to walk alongside us. And so that's just good. Like so
Yeah, and you don't have to tell everything. You know, I'm different. I got to a point I started telling so much stuff. My late father would be like, Jessica, my God, like you didn't have to tell that part of the story. But it's to your level of comfort. It's just as long as you understand, like we overcome by the word of our testimony.
Mhm.
That means we have to tell something. We have to tell it. That's how you overcome. That's how other people overcome. And I never believe you go through anything just for your
Mm.
sake. It's always for someone else. But I did want to just add really quick. The other thing that I would tell my 15-year-old self is slow down.
Mm.
Life will speed up on its own. You do
Mm.
not have to help it.
Mm.
Slow down, enjoy. I am now coming into understanding mindfulness
Mm.
and
Mm.
enjoying the moment.
Yes.
But boy, at 15, I can't wait till I can't wait. Then I had all those things and I was like, whew, yeah, okay, that went by really fast. That wasn't worth it.
Yes.
So yeah.
You've been through so many things. What are some truths that you've held on to through the years? What are some things that you've really held on to?
Um, the truths that I've held on to, well, I think I shared one already that God loves me. And
Mhm.
that's not me being deep and overly spiritual. That really you see what that did to me. When I talk about his love, I just get all
Yeah.
emotional. Um, so that was one truth that I held on to. The other truth is that I'm imperfect and that's okay.
Hmm.
I think before it was you're imperfect and it's not okay. That's the lie. But I had to replace that with the truth that it's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to have flaws. It's okay to make mistakes. And I allow myself to make mistakes. I give myself that freedom. I give myself permission to be imperfect. And I think that's what has helped me through, the latest part of my life. And it's what helps my clients, anybody who's my friend, who's connected to me. People enjoy talking to me because they can be transparent. And so just understanding that in the latter part of my years, and that's what I teach my friends, my clients, anybody who is friends with me. And this is not me being braggadocious at all. They know there's nothing they can tell me that will make me go, what? I have no room to judge anyone. So you could tell me you did the worst thing on earth. I'm that friend that's going to try to okay, so how we getting out of this?
Come on.
Let's figure this out, and then we'll laugh about it later, because I laugh at everything. I laugh at things that are just inappropriate.
What is a song in this season that's getting you through?
A song?
Yeah.
Oh. That is a good question, Chantal. You got me on that one.
Or a song in the past that's got you through, like, because people don't know Jessica Baldwin. She can sing. Oh my God. She can preach. She can teach. Like, she's just a package deal with a lot of things. So, yeah. What is, like, over the years? What is a song that, like, got you through? And, like, I know this is kind of touchy, but you've lost your dad recently, not too long ago. What was even that, like? What brought you? What helped you get through that season?
So I will say a song, and you may think I'm selfish, but it happens to be a song I wrote.
Okay.
And it's a song called All Right. So I have a mantra that I started years ago. He makes everything all right. That's like my statement. In Cleveland, Ohio, if you say that line, people know Jessica, that's her encouragement word to everybody. He makes everything all right. And so there's a song that says he makes everything all right that I've been singing for years. I just now got to record it, maybe about a year or so ago, on my husband's live recording. And that was the first time it actually got recorded, but people have been singing it forever. So that was the song that got me through a lot of stuff. He makes everything all right. I keep saying it. And when my father passed, I had to keep telling myself, he makes everything all right. God makes everything all right. This will not last forever. This moment that you're going through, it won't last forever. My father passing was probably one of the lowest times I have yet to experience in life. He was my very, very, very best friend. We told each other when he said he was going to take stuff to the grave, he meant it, girl. He took it right on with him. But that was my ace. Like, we called each other boo. Like, that's my boo. And me and my mom had this little running joke, like, he belonged to me. And she was like, that's my husband. I'm like, yeah, but he's my boo. Like, I would jump in the bed, grown and married, with my own kids, and still jump in the bed in the middle of them, So our relationship was really close. And I want to tie that, if it's okay, to what we've talked about in my choices and behavior. Because a lot of people automatically assume that people that struggle with addiction or promiscuity or things of that nature had a broken home.
Yeah.
You can't assume that. Or they look at the parents. What's wrong with the parents? Well, unfortunately, in my case, it had nothing to do with my parents. I had a very loving home. My parents were together, never separated, never divorced. They did and said all of the right things. So it wasn't a reflection of my home. It goes back to what I said, internal. It wasn't my external. It wasn't my environment. It wasn't them. I wasn't abused growing up. So now I fall into an abusive relationship. It had everything to do with me. And I think that's why it broke my father's heart so much to see it, because he's just like, where did I go wrong? And I remember telling him, you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But he didn't understand that. He couldn't grasp it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me and Dad's story. If you know me for a half a second, you know that he's my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
still post about him.
that no, I just, he was such a legendary man, to king the kingdom. Like he has changed so much, and you're a product of that. And I can only imagine how much he changed your life and how he's still impacting your life and what you're doing. And so,
Yeah.
what's next? What are you working on? I know that you have your own organization for
Yes.
women. Tell us a little about that.
Yes, my main focus is shifting to She Survived, I Am She, which
Mhm.
is my nonprofit organization, and it really started in the beginning of 2021. So that was last year. I had a vision, and I really believe God gave it to me. I had COVID, and I was stuck in my room for 14 days. So I had some decisions I needed to make. I literally was stuck in my room for 14 days. The kids couldn't come in. Jason could only slide me food under the door. Um, and God gave me a vision because I asked him, what is next? I asked that
Mhm.
same question. And he showed me a room of 100 women dressed in white. And I was like, what is this? And he was like, this is next. And I said, well, what am I supposed to call it? It was like we were having a conversation. And he literally just gave it to me. She survived.
Mhm.
Well, who is she? I am she. I
Mhm.
survived. And I did it. I put an announcement out right away. We had our first event, and I got nervous because 2 weeks before the event, I had only sold 34 tickets. And I knew God showed me 100 women. So
Mhm.
this was not making sense. I started fussing at him like, okay, now listen, you don't put me out here in this ocean without a life jacket. People try to figure out what the heck is she doing? Because all I'm known for is singing and preaching, like a women's event. And literally 2 nights before the event, I sold out.
Wow.
And so that was even eye opening because it was just like, if he gives you something, he's faithful to fulfill it.
Oh, praise God.
You
So,
have to trust him literally up until the last second because he could fulfill it 60 seconds before it's supposed to.
mhm.
You
That's
know,
a word. That's a word right
yes,
there.
God can do it in 60 seconds.
Hmm.
Don't get me started. I start shouting on this
Hey.
broadcast. But we have to trust him, and we have to trust him to do it in his timing. So anyway, we had the event. It was a success, and everybody was like, you need to form an actual organization. And so the rest is history. I actually did the paperwork, filed it, and our main project, I would love to, my dream is to build multiple sober homes across the United States.
Mm.
That's the vision God gave me. I know it will happen. And we're having our second event in March of next year. And
Awesome.
it will be in Dallas, Texas. And this time I would like to do 200 women.
Come
So
on.
I need you to pray
Yes.
for the success of She Survived, I Am She.
It's gonna be good. I already know. Like you're anointed. You're full of faith. You are an amazing woman of God. You're amazing women. Like God has so much in store, and you are just only getting started. I just believe that you're gonna really impact women's life by your story and just who you are. Outside of that, you're just an amazing woman. And so, Jessica,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for sharing your story. I know people are gonna be blessed by hearing what you've been through because you are a survivor. You are
Yes.
she. And so, how can people keep in contact with you and follow you?
Well, my Instagram is Jessica Ellis Bulgin. I know that's really long, but Jessica Ellis, Ellis, Bulgin, Bulgin.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So if you guys please follow her, like her. If you are in Dallas area or if not, go to her event next year. It's going to be, I know already it's going to be good. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you in a few minutes backstage.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everybody.
You're welcome. Man, powerful story, powerful experience. I just love what God is doing in women's life. And so just all of us can look at ourselves and say, you know what, God, you love me so much. There's nothing too hard that we've ever been through that he cannot pull us out from. And so she shared that for to us. And so if you have not already, share this link with someone that will really bless their lives, another woman, or even just a friend that would just really be impacted by that. And so take a moment, like it, subscribe to my channel. And not only that, I just want to announce I'm having a women's event June 25th at Serve City Church. If you can go to servecitywomen.com to get a ticket, it's going to be phenomenal. We're going to dare to dream. We're going to dream again, especially the last couple of years. So much has happened over the years. And a lot of times we've kind of maybe put our dreams away or felt like we can't do it. But this is going to be an opportunity with a room full of women that we're going to believe. We're going to sing, we're going to talk, we're going to have real raw conversation. And so I would love to have you in the room. So please get your ticket at servecitywomen.com. Listen, it's going to be good. Next week, I have an amazing couple that's coming on to talk all things marriage, all things ministry. Do not miss me next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Same time, same place. See you next week.